trying to make is better made musically. Check the lyrics. Haven't you heard? Haven't you heard? You're the light.
Good morning, Open Heart, and welcome to our live stream for this Sunday, November the 15th, 2020. As always, it's good to have you as a part of this celebration. Thank you for all of your support, all of your positive and affirming comments about the celebration, for all that you do, your gifts, your financial gifts, the ways in which various people contribute to this live stream for us to get the good news, the truth out about Open Heart Spiritual Center, but more importantly, about looking at the world from a different perspective from what many people are used to. We have got a great day today. We have a special guest speaker that you will hear about and hear from a little bit later in this live stream. But as always, I greet you. I bless you. I see God in you.
Good morning, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to today's Open Heart Spiritual Center virtual service. I want to thank you for joining us today. And I'd like to start off today by, if you will join me, I greet you, I bless you, and I see the God in you. And as we recognize and realize that I see the God in you, you see the God in me, we see the God in each and every single one of us. Because that same source is within all things. And so I'm grateful to be here for this opportunity this morning. I know that we've had a busy week and lots is going on, and so I just want to ask you to set that week aside, set it aside right now, and take a breath. And now is the time to turn within and be present for the music, for the reading, and for the message. And I just give thanks for each and every single one of you that are joining us today and for all that take part in this service today. I am so grateful for our Open Heart Spiritual Center and for the message that we send out, and that I just pray and know and allow ourselves to set the intention that our message is heard by so many others, and that it just continues to spread and to grow and to build, and we continue to evolve. And so share it with your friends, and let them know that when you come to Open Heart, it's all about love. We're all here to be loving beings on this planet, and that's really our one job. We all think that we need to go to work and do this and do that, but our one job is just to be a loving presence. And so right now, let's turn within and allow ourselves to recognize and realize that, just love. To love each and every single moment, to love every breath, and to take this time right here and right now and to just love yourself, and to give yourself this time and this opportunity, and to remember that not only this time to love yourself and in this moment, but in each and every single moment, loving our thoughts and putting those out into our world, and loving our thoughts of ourselves and loving our thoughts of one another, thoughts of our leaders and all that's going on right now. Let us raise and praise all that are on our prayer list, and those that may not be feeling well, lift them up. And through this service, hold them in your heart and see them well, and knowing that our paths are all perfect. And so right here and right now, I just give the message of love, and that we just allow ourselves to be loving in this moment, in the service, in the here and now, in always and always. And with joy and gratitude, let this wonderful service begin. And so it is.
Our theme for this month is unapologetically metaphysical. And our daily affirmation, won't you say it with me where you are? I am a metaphysician. Because I know that my thoughts create my reality, I see and experience the world differently. Though I'm not always understood by others, I stand in my truth. I manage my intention and attention and welcome a new reality.
Today's affirmative reading is from 365 Days of Richer Living and is called I Have Faith. The life which I now live in the flesh, I live by the faith of the Son of God. Galatians 2:20. Faith is more than an objective statement. We do not have perfect faith while any subjective contradictions deny the affirmation of our lips. This is what the Bible means when it says we must know in our heart. Our heart symbolizes the innermost center of the being. When the intellect is no longer contradicted by our emotional reactions, our unconscious doubts and fears, then the word of our mouth will immediately bear fruit. Today I have faith and my word shall not return unto me void. Today I surrender myself completely to this faith, for I know that there is a creative spirit which gives substance to this faith and which will provide the evidence of this substance in actual fact. I expect then to meet my good, and I rejoice in the anticipation of this good. I know that my faith operates through an immutable law, but there is no possibility whatsoever of its failing. My faith leads me into complete self-expression. It awakens inner spiritual forces that have the power to do anything. My faith transcends the limitation of fear, of physical pain, and mental depression. My faith leads me into the pathway of righteousness. My faith unites every experience I have with the eternal. My faith in God reflects itself unto everyone I meet, thereby making practical my faith in man.
There's one power, invisible, and just see it everywhere and every day. One power indescribable, and just speak of it with every word you say. Mysterious until you know the truth. As simple as the love inside of you. Call it God, call it Spirit, call it Jesus, call it Lord, call it Buddha, Baha'u'llah, angel's wings, or heaven's door. But whatever name you give it, it's all one power, can't you see? It's the power of the love in you and me. One power, one power, one power. We speak so many languages, of different clothing, different colors, different names. But different is only dangerous when we forget that in the heart we're all the same. And we'll remember once we close our eyes see that such distances were never meant to be. Call it God, call it Spirit, call it Jesus or Lord, Buddha, Baha'u'llah, Hashem, or heaven's door. It's Muhammad, it's your mind, it's your soul, or it's your sign. It's the universe, it's music, Mother Earth, or Father Time. But whatever name you give it, it's all one power, can't you see? Whatever name you give it, it's the very air we breathe. Oh, it's the power of the love in you and me. One power, one power, one power is what we are. One power. It's the moment of creation. It's an everlasting peace. It's the freedom of forgiveness. It's the sweetness of release. It's the joy of inspiration. It's the sunshine on your face. It's the birthright of all nations. It's the boundlessness of space. It's the beauty of a baby, and the serenity of sleep. It's the anger we abandon, for it's love that's most deep. It's one power. Oh, it's one power. What we are is one. Lives forever in you and me. It's the power of the love in you and me.
Good morning, and these are our announcements for Sunday, November the 15th, 2020. We want to say and give a birthday shout out to all of our November babies, Vernicelin, Aziza, Judy, Paul, Chris, and Hania. Happiest of birthdays to each and every one of you. Happy Diwali. Diwali is celebrated by Hindus, Jains, Sikhs, and Nawar Buddhists, although for each faith it marks different historical events and stories. But nonetheless, the festival represents the same symbolic victory of light over darkness, knowledge over ignorance, and good over evil. What an appropriate time to celebrate this. We remember in our prayers members of the Open Heart family. We continue to hold the space for you, to know the truth about you, to continue to see you and hold you each day in your prayer. We especially want to remember Virginia Walker, whose husband transitioned this week, but each and every person on this prayer list and each and every one of you watching this live stream. Our prayer team continues to lift each of you in our prayers every day. Hey, our own May Brophy is continuing her Crosstown residency live. Her next performance is this Saturday, November the 21st at 7 p.m. You can watch her live from Grandma's house in Crosstown Arts because she's a resident artist there, and she continues to highlight women composers. It's a wonderful opportunity to see such a talented part of our Open Heart family. This past Friday, she did a pop-up jazz performance that was just truly, truly delightful. And we ask again that you support Maeve in all of the fine work that she is doing. Tuesdays at 12:30 p.m. is our midday love grid meditation led by Britannia Allen. It's an opportunity for you in the midst of all that is taking place in your day on that Tuesday to center down, to focus, and to spend 15 to 20 minutes in meditation led by Britannia. As always, I'm looking for people who will provide the videos themselves doing affirmative readings. Thank you very much, Lily Williams, for supplying the one for this week. It's very simple. Shoot your video, your phone, your computer, your camera, and email it to me, and we will see you providing us with inspiration and affirmation. Also remember our daily affirmative prayer call led by one of the members of our prayer team each morning at 8 a.m. Central Time. This is going on our third year for doing this. 901-586-8755. Begin or continue your day with prayer.
Welcome to our centering moment. Let the sound of the ringing bowl invite us to this sacred space. In this space, let us take the time to focus on where we are right now, grateful for all that has gone before. And in this time, as we prepare our hearts to hear the message, we are grateful. We know all is well, that God is in, as, and through us. And in that knowledge, we center, we breathe, we release, and we let go.
It gives me great pleasure to introduce our speaker for this morning. He and I believe we first met when our paths crossed as a result of my wife, Emma Crystal. They both are a part of the theater and performing arts community in Memphis. And I immediately was impressed by his talent and all of that. But more importantly, when we were saying to one another, hey, let's get together, get to know one another and all of that. And we finally had an opportunity to sit down for breakfast. And as we were talking, he began to share with me how he had turned things around in his life. And one of the components of that was by using metaphysical principles. And he talked about discovering Ernest Holmes and reading The Science of Mind and other teachers in that way and how powerful that was for him. And I sat there amazed, but not so surprised that someone who I see doing the things that he's doing now had that type of transformation through the types of principles that we teach. And I thought how appropriate during this month where we're talking about unapologetically metaphysical. And remember how I started off this month? The question that came from me is from one of the classes I'm taking. The teacher asked, is your default thinking metaphysical? And so the idea of always presenting and coming from that perspective is important. So on to his more formal introduction. Phil Darius Wallace is a native of Flint, Michigan, where he was introduced to the world of performing. He attended Interlochen Arts Academy, where he studied theater. He went on to further his studies at SUNY Purchase in New York. His professional experience includes Michigan Shakespeare Festival, Flint Youth Theater, Attic Theater, and Hattie Lou Theater. He is currently a company member of Playhouse on the Square and Voices of the South. His movie and TV credits include Nothing But the Truth, Brian Banks, The World We Make, ABC's Nashville, NBC's Bluff City Law, and the Hallmark Channel's Wedding at Graceland. He also directed his own movie, 100 Lives, which is available on Amazon, and it's a very powerful one, I might add. It's very thought-provoking and very appropriate in this time when so much is happening in ways of gun violence. Along with the poetry of Langston Hughes, he has also traveled around the country performing his one-man shows on Frederick Douglass and Martin Luther King. As a speaking coach, he has worked with companies such as Commercial Advisors, Nucor Steel, Sycamore Pictures, and TEDx Memphis. It gives me a great pleasure to have as a part of our live stream celebration today, Phil Darius Wallace.
Just before you say something you can't take away, take a breath, then let it out. Try to think about what would love do now. Wondering if you should cross that line for good. Whatever you decide, ask yourself from inside, what would love do now? Everything is either an act of love or a cry for love. That's why for love we try for love. In the end, that's all we know that's real. Whether right or wrong doesn't matter, just as long as you let your heart decide. Ask yourself from inside, what will love do now? Everything is either an act of love or a cry for love. That's why for love we die for love. In the end, that's all we know that's real. Whether right or wrong doesn't matter, just as long as you let your heart decide. Ask yourself from inside, what would love do? Sing it from inside with me, y'all. What would love do now? Let me hear you sing it, people.
What would love do now?
Sing it one more time for me, y'all.
What would love
Do now. Thank you.
Hello, and hey, I'm so glad to have the opportunity to do this today. Thank you, John and Emma, and thank you everyone who's a part of their experience for giving me the opportunity to speak, and so I hope you enjoy the talk. There was a time when peace was on the earth, and joy and happiness did reign, and each one knew their worth. In my heart how I yearn for that spirit its return, and I cry as time flies. There is a place where love will always shine, and the rays of the shadows of love that's so divine, and the glow of that love will light the sky up above, and is free. Can't you see? Come with me. The Creator has a master plan, peace and happiness through all the land. The Creator has a master plan, peace and happiness through all the land, through all the land, through all the land. I am an actor. And the title of this is God's Got It, How to Be Certain in Uncertain Times. And I can tell you, being an actor, I completely understand what it's like to need certainty in uncertain times. I think Emma could agree with that. As a matter of fact, I think there's a lot of you out there that understand what that feels like, even if you're not an artist. Maybe you're an entrepreneur, or just a person that goes to work every day, takes care of their family in the evening. We all experience uncertainty, and we all need a sense of certainty. And you know, COVID doesn't help. Being in a pandemic does not help. But I want to change the title. Isn't that interesting? You know, I say God's got it because that was my mantra. When I had my revelation, which I'm going to tell you about back in 2011, after that, whenever I was under any kind of anxiety, I would always say, God's got it. But a lot of times when we think of God, we think of some being outside of ourselves, in the skies, ready to judge us. And even if we know within ourselves that God is love, there's always still that sense of some judgmental being outside of ourselves that we're disconnected from. So though I do mean God's got it, but I want to change it for you and bring it closer to home. I want to change the title of this to You've Got This. Capital T, capital H, capital I, capital S. You've got this. How to be certain in uncertain times. I hope y'all don't mind that I have a little coffee. Being an actor, you know how we love our coffee. Back at the beginning of COVID, Anne, my wife, she really wanted all of us to find some sense of peace, serenity, and security because of what we didn't know what was going to happen, to be honest. So she had us all memorize a poem by a great poet. And the poem goes like this. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, and my cup overfloweth. Surely, goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. I didn't introduce myself, by the way. My name is Phil Darius Wallace. You've heard probably my bio or what have you. And once again, I am an actor. And I'm hoping that today I can share some of my experience, strength, and hope that can inspire you. Well, back in, let me just say, the summer of 2011 was a very trying time in my life. You know, when the crash in 2008 happened, I didn't really experience it. I actually had a very abundant flow of work coming between 2008 and 2011, but May of 2011, everything came to a halt. Everything became uncertain. I didn't know what I was going to do. I started trying to do things that I had never done before. They did not work. I made all kinds of mistakes that we do when we're anxious, as I was. And I remember it had gotten so incredibly hard. No money in the bank, $5 in my pocket, a cupboard with hardly any food in it, 3 kids, Jaden, Darren, Violet. Violet was probably only 2 years old at the time. We had a car that you had to pray that it would start when you got in it. Have y'all had that experience before? When you had to pray and hope that it started? I mean, that was real, and sometimes it wouldn't start, and we'd have to sit there and pray that it would start. And then it would start, isn't that something? Had no air conditioning. If y'all remember in 2011, it was like 100 degrees plus for 3 weeks, 3 or 4 weeks. Y'all remember that? It was burning up hot. $5 in my pocket one day. And I had to get Violet to work. Jaden and Dara to day camp out in Collierville. I had to get Violet to her babysitter at out in Cordova. Then I had to drive Ann downtown. She was working downtown at a place called Bridges. And you know, after I got them there, I had no gas in the car. Now, I knew that this was going to happen because if you remember in 2011, the gas prices were much higher than they are right now. And so I took some of my precious books with me because I knew that I could take them to Burke's bookstore. For those of you all who live in Memphis, you know where Burke's bookstore is in Cooper Young. And you can verify this with David Tankerley that I sold some of my precious books so that I would have some cash to put into the car so that I could get home and then pick everybody up. That afternoon, I belong to a 12-step program. Been sober for 11 years now. At that time, it had only been a year and a half. And I must have looked so incredibly stressed because a fellow brother in the program who had heard talk, I didn't know him well. He was a Baptist preacher, but he didn't speak like one. He was, and forgive me for those of you that are Baptist preachers, what I'm trying to say is, I just wouldn't have known that he was a preacher. He really connected to me with a personal sermon in a very compassionate way. He came up to me and he basically, in seeing how stressed that I looked, he came to me and said, look, I'm not trying to bother you, but I just couldn't help but come over to you because during the meeting, I saw nothing but a tremendous amount, like life was coming to an end for you. Now, what he didn't know was the night before, I was in complete turmoil because I knew all these bills were coming up. I was worried about all kinds of things getting cut off and evicted. I mean, I was just worried about so much at that time. And the night before, I felt like life was going to be over. The night before, I had even contemplated the unfortunate decision to open the garage door, get into my vehicle, drive into the garage, shut the door, the garage door, turn the car on, crack the window, and let nature take its course. But there was something within me that chose to go a different route. So he didn't know that I had those emotions, that experience, but he could see it on me still. And you know what? He told me a biblical story. I won't get deep into it because I don't have time, but it basically was when Moses and the children of Israel were in the desert and they ran out of supplies, and then Moses prayed for an east wind to blow, and God rained down quails, and everybody was able to eat. But the way that he expressed it to me, communicated to me that there is this higher power that cares, that's compassionate, that I can lean on and trust in, that'll take care of it all. And then he told me, I'm not just saying this to you, I'm talking to myself, because I myself am in the process of losing 2 businesses and have disappointed my mentor, have disappointed my wife, but there's a serenity in me. And I tell you, there was a serenity, a smile and a joy in him I did not understand. And in that moment, I felt a little peace. Well, I left the meeting. Later that day, I picked up everyone, took them home. And then I went to Starbucks. Now look, why did you go to Starbucks when you hardly have any money? Look, I'm gonna have my coffee now. I'm gonna figure it out, okay? I'm gonna have my coffee. I had a little money, went to Starbucks. I just had to sit down and just figure it out. A mentor said to me, Darius, there's nothing to figure out. Sitting there at Starbucks outside, it was hot. And yet, when I think back on that time, I remember it was a cloudy day, so I only remember it as cool. I felt a still, small voice in me say, let's go for a walk. What I experienced within me, I knew was divine because so much peace came over me when I heard that. Now, the Starbucks I'm talking about is on Quince and Kirby, right? For those of you all who are in Memphis, you know where I'm talking about. Well, if you go down Quince, like you're going toward Park, there is a park. If you make a right, I can't remember the street, I'm so sorry. Well, you make a right, and then to the left, there's this nice sized park. And so I went to that park, and I walked around that park, not on purpose, 7 times. I cannot tell you what experience, well, I can tell you the experience that I had, but I can't tell you what was said. I don't remember. All I know is I came out of that park a different man. I came out of that experience, and I'm telling you where it says in the scriptures, peace that surpasseth all understanding, I'm telling you that's what I experienced. And I came out of that park just knowing everything was going to be okay. I can't tell you the amazing amount of beauty, peace, serenity that I hadn't ever experienced before. Went home and was sitting on the floor. I sat down, I told her my experience, and you know what she said to me? I just received a check. She had been doing this network marketing thing, and she had gotten a nice sized commission. Well, beautiful. We still had a lot of things to take care of, so I had every reason to still have some anxiety, but I didn't. I slept in the most peaceful sleep, and I still have these types of sleeps, by the way. Like a baby, like I'm glued to the mattress. That next day, a residual check came in for me. You get residuals sometimes when you do film and television. And let me just say, work just started rolling in. I got into my imagination. Now, for those of you all that study, the imagination faculty in our body is the disciple of Bartholomew, and Bartholomew is the discipline of imagination. I got into my imagination, and I have a friend that does these phenomenal websites, and I thought in my mind, I'm gonna call him up and see if I can sell his services to small businesses. He loved the idea. And then I had study income. I had turned down a role months before at Tennessee Shakespeare Company. I called them up to see if it was still available, and it was. A friend of mine had to leave a tour, and I took his place and did a tour. And I'm telling you, this went on and on and on. And I'm gonna tell you right now, over the past, I guess, almost 10 years now, this is how my life has been since I've had that experience. So let me just say, still, challenges come. Still, uncertainty comes. But there's a way to experience that certainty. And it's in those experiences, I will always say, God's got it. But what do I mean when I say, you've got this? This, meaning you have this special conscious contact with your higher power within you. You have this divinity, this divine spark within you. You have not only this divinity and this divine spark within you, but you have this divinity and this divine spark within you, the result of which are your gifts, your talents, and your intelligence. And because you are connected to this divine power within you, the miraculous can happen in multiple ways, not only through your gifts, talents, and intelligence, but even the things that you cannot see. But I learned that the answer wasn't necessarily outside of myself. The answer was always within myself. And so, looking back on the scripture, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. I believe it's talking about our higher power that lives within us, and because we're connected to this higher power that lives within us, we don't have to want for anything. Because the minute we want, we move into a realm of anxiety and limitation and lack. But when we realize we don't have to want, because we have this shepherd, this guide within us, then we know that the Lord is our shepherd, and we shall not want. Let me be clear, I'm not religious. I'm an actor. I'm spiritual. But I'm quoting this because I really believe it, because I've experienced it. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside still waters. He restores my soul. There was something about when I took that walk, I had a sense of restoration. I had a sense of being in a peaceful pasture. It says that he leads me in the path of righteousness for his name's sake. And I interpret that to mean that righteousness, I believe, is when we have the ability to have faith in this divine spark that is absolutely perfect within us. We're not human beings having a spiritual experience. We're spiritual beings having a human experience. As a matter of fact, this is not me. I live in this. The me that I am is within my body. And so when it talks about paths of righteousness and faith, that is what I believe. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. The night before, I was fearing all kinds of evil, so much to the point, like so many, you get so depressed where you just want to just completely give up. But when I had that experience of tapping in to the divine spark, the divine power within, I didn't fear any evil. Thy rod and thy staff, they are with me. The rod that protects me from all the negative thoughts and negative self-talk that I could have, and the staff that guides me. Thou preparest a table in front of me in the presence of mine enemies. Well, when we think of enemies, we think of people that we don't like and people that don't like us. So we think. We think about, our family members, we think about friends, our bosses, but I believe it's talking about our negative thoughts, our negative ideas, the things that are flowing through our mind all the time that's holding us back. That in the presence of all of that our divine spark, our conscious contact with our higher power blesses us with peace, with serenity, with joy. The root of which comes all the things that we could truly desire or have in our lives. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. I believe that in the midst of what might feel like a famine, in the midst of the desert in our life, in the midst of certainty, goodness can still follow us. I've experienced it. Mercy can still follow us. I've experienced it. And we can dwell in this joy, in this presence forever. Look, y'all see the smile on my face? I just want you to know I've spent most of my life depressed, so much to the point I thought that was just how life was. It wasn't until 2011, the summer of 2011, that all changed. And I experienced this constant joy, even when I have challenging times in my life, fearful, the anxiety, when all those things kick in, I'm able to come home to a place of peace. So, you've got this. Exactly what I just told you. I don't just have it, you have it. And I want you to walk away knowing that you have it and to tap into it and to know that peace, serenity, beauty, love, security, certainty is with you, is within you, and all around you. Thank y'all. I appreciate it. I hope you have got some experience and strength and hope today, and I do hope that I see you all again. Be blessed.
Infinite prosperity is mine to share. Thank you so much for your support of us through your conscious giving. We know that times can be uncertain, but you continue to support Open Heart, and it is truly appreciated. You can do so via our app. You can do so online or text the word GIVE to 615-422-4292. Thanks again.
There was a time in my life I thought I had to do it all for myself. I didn't know that the grace of God was sufficient, and I didn't know that the love of God was at hand. But now I can say, if you are discouraged, struggling just to make it through another day, you've got to let it go, let it all go. And this is what you have to say. I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life. And my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggles, no more strife. With my faith I My heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggles, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. Yes, I'm only here for God. God's work is mighty and marvelous. God increases our lives every day. And my soul magnifies the Lord, yes. God's love redefines my existence, yes. God's peace resurrects my life, oh yes. God's joy, well, it's lifting me. It's lifting me. It's lifting me up. God's joy, oh yes, said it's lifting me, lifting me up. See, God's will is just beyond our plans. And when we know in God we will stand, and we'll say, let it rain or shine, I will be safe in the spirit, in a house that God built for me. Don't labor in vain, just to let the Lord let it build a house, and don't labor in vain, except the Lord build a house. We labor in vain. Don't labor in vain.